So put your mobile phone in a different room, turn off the TV an hour before bed, stop working, give yourself some downtime. Your mind is going to wander. That's what it's supposed to do. But eventually you start to be able to focus more. So give yourself some grace. When you realize you're thinking about something else, just go back to the breathing and imagine the box.
Do you hear that?
All the time, all the time.
All
So
the
I
time.
say, well, send me everything that you've already done. And that's our starting point. So we don't have to repeat any of that.
Welcome back to Master Your Health. I'm Dr. J. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Rowley. She has an amazing story of perseverance after being diagnosed with a potentially debilitating illness. Let's learn from her on our daily mission to improve and optimize our health. And remember, if you're not subscribed, subscribe, drop a like to this video, share this with someone that you know may need the extra encouragement. Thank you. And let's get to the story. And today we are going to talk a little bit about functional medicine, what that means, why it's important. And then also we are going to pick your brain about concepts that are important with healthcare. But first, I think it's important to really find out, what is your background? Tell us a little bit about your history and what brings you to this point as an expert.
Absolutely. My background actually is coming into medicine as a career changer. I was in finance for a few years after college and just didn't feel like I was capturing my purpose in life. So I did a lot of soul searching and landed on medicine. So as I went back and took all of the prerequisites to be able to apply to medical school, and then finally landed in a program that would basically guarantee admission to the medical school if I did well in this post-baccalaureate program. I was in the final stages preparing for my final exams and started to get vision loss in one of my eyes. It was like a very dark curtain was falling over my eye. I went to get an MRI and was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So, this happening just weeks before starting medical school was devastating, but I just went ahead and did what I needed to do to pass those final exams and stay positive. But then in the process of being in medical school, I started to seek out things that would help me use lifestyle, how far that could get me, how that could delay any symptoms of MS, which for those who don't know, it's a neurological condition where you can lose function of your brain, the ability to speak properly, the ability to walk. Some people are in debilitating pain. So, it's this pretty shocking just before I was starting a process of my life when I was going to be as busy as I had ever been before and really needed my brain. So along this process of seeking out lifestyle to support maintaining my vision and my ability to walk and all of the things that I really needed for a career in medicine, I found functional medicine, which is a process where we're looking at the root cause of what's going on and then approaching it with maximizing lifestyle like diet and exercise and stress management, and sometimes taking supplements in addition to medications or sometimes instead of medications, depending on the situation. And once I was able to shadow a doctor in functional medicine at the end of my medical school training, I knew this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. So that was my path into medicine, and then how it got specific into being a functional medicine path.
And that's a very interesting story too, by the way, for multiple reasons. And I want to pick through that just a little bit. One is, first, let's talk a little bit about when you were diagnosed with MS. Did you think, what did you think about your career path? Did you think that, oh no, you would have to choose something else? Were you thinking about that?
I was really in a state of shock. I mean, I felt healthy other than losing my vision, and they gave me steroids. So my vision came back within a few days. And, I didn't have any of these terrible things that they said I could develop. But the course with MS is typically you get better and worse and better and worse. That's called relaxing and remitting. And, that was what was expected of me. So I said, well, if I can see today and I can walk today and I don't have any pain and, I have full control over my brain. How do I keep that? So I think initially, for the first few hours or days, I was down about the possibility of losing my faculties. But then I realized, wait a minute, I have it today. Let's focus on what I have today. So it was a motivator more than anything.
Also, you mentioned the term functional medicine, and I know, and you explained it briefly, but I want to go back to that topic, right? Because people ask me this all, what is functional medicine? What exactly is functional medicine? What type of doctor does functional medicine? What do I expect when I walk in? Can you answer that question? What is functional medicine?
I love this question. Functional medicine is a paradigm, a process that has been created for us to look at all of the pieces, the areas of health. When someone has a laundry list of symptoms, especially putting these pieces together to try to understand what went wrong, which is typically, some central thing that affects all of these other things. So, a lot of times it's not about finding a name, a diagnosis for symptoms. It's about figuring out why things are happening, why these symptoms are happening. Is it toxin exposure? Is it bad diet? Is it poor gut function? Is it the inability to assimilate the outside into your body, like breathing and having to intake the oxygen properly, or eating and intaking the nutrients properly? So it's really a system of understanding how to stop this trickle down of all of the symptoms. I think that in order to do functional medicine properly, it takes training. I think that because it's starting to become a buzz term, a lot of people will hang up a sign that says functional medicine because they do hormone replacement therapy or they do specialty testing and recommend supplements. But it's more than that. I mean, some of those are the tools that we use in functional medicine, but it's a way of thinking more than it is, a particular service that is provided.
And you're right. I'm glad you mentioned that. I have seen a lot of advertisements that will basically throw out, get this test, we do functional medicine, but in reality, that clinic is actually not a functional medicine clinic. It's just that they're pushing maybe the test because of the margins. So I'm glad you made that distinction. So because you have really delve into this expertise field of functional medicine, from your view, what are three concepts that you can give a person maybe watching this to try to understand how to make myself better from a fitness, from a wellness, from an overall healthcare standpoint? What are three concepts that you would give them?
The number one thing is to get enough sleep. Our bodies repair themselves when they sleep. We have damage that we take in all day, from breathing in pollution to toxins in our food, to stress that affects us. And we repair all of that when we sleep. So, a lot of people will say, who are very busy and put a lot on their plate, oh, I'll sleep when I die. Well, you'll speed that process up if you don't sleep along the way. So sleep is very important for maintaining physical and mental health. So, 7 to 9 hours for most people is ideal. Secondly, I would say managing stress. I kind of overlaid that with my first point, but with stress, it can set into motion so many different disease states. And so it doesn't have to be that you sit in special meditation pose and, chant something and zen out for an hour every day. But a good consistent mindfulness practice can make all the difference. And if it's meditation, it doesn't have to be, like I said, it can be 1 to 3 minutes on a regular basis, not even every day, most weekdays. If you take 1 to 3 minutes, you can make great strides in your improvement with decreasing that stress and therefore decreasing inflammation. And so finding an easy practice that you do on a regular basis is critical. The third one is moving. We are in such a sedentary lifestyle these days. Most of us sit at a desk and work. We come home and we're not having to work the land. So, we might do a few small chores and then we're sitting again. And another great way to release toxins and reduce stress is to exercise. And like Fit in 15 is a wonderful way to maintain health, both physical and mental.
Okay, so I have the sleep is one, stress
Mm-hmm.
management two, and then exercise three. And they seem so simple, but very difficult to really place sometimes in your life if you're not doing one of them or possibly multiple. How does someone start? What would you tell them to try to start to change their life?
So starting with those three things, if you're not getting enough sleep, give yourself a time curfew. That helps tremendously with sleep. So put your mobile phone in a different room, turn off the TV an hour before bed, stop working, give yourself some downtime. And then for that last hour, when you're preparing for sleep, talk to your spouse or your significant other. And that's a great opportunity to reconnect. Read a book is relaxing, not something that will be a page turner and have you on the edge of your seat. Even listening to relaxing music can be great as long as it doesn't send you down a rabbit hole on social media or something. And it's really important. The reason I say screens is because those screens have backlights. Even when you put on the red light filter, those backlights stimulate to your brain that it's daytime. So that increases your cortisol and decreases your melatonin, which causes you to, even if you do fall asleep quickly, not have the restful sleep all night that you need. So that's a great way to get started. Put away the screens and get better sleep. With meditation practice, I like to start with box breathing. So box breathing is you breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. I recommend to my patients, set a timer. If this is your first time, 1 minute is fine. Don't feel like you have to, be a gladiator meditator and, start off with 30 minutes, just 1 minute. And then start your box breathing. Your mind is going to wander. That's what it's supposed to do. But eventually you start to be able to focus more. So give yourself some grace. When you realize you're thinking about something else, just go back to the breathing and imagine the box. And then for exercise, a great way, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't have time, I can't make it to the gym. You can start at home. You can look at videos online. You can connect with something like Fit in 15 and get something that you can do without a lot of outside resources needed. You can start with sit-ups and push-ups and planks. And you can also start small there. I have a lot of patients who say, I just don't have enough energy to work out for half an hour. Don't start with half an hour. Start with 10 minutes. Start with what you can do and build up until you have a practice that really serves you.
And you mentioned the patients that come to you. Can you expand on what type of patients seek your service?
Since I'm a family medicine doctor, I see the whole family. We start at 2 months old and we see all the way through great grandparents. It runs the gamut. However, our most typical patients are women, typically between the ages of 35 and 65. A lot of them are looking to balance their hormones. We help with that both in bioidentical hormone replacement, meaning hormones that are the same structure as our own, and through lifestyle. So that's a big area for us. Thyroid balance, because we're not just looking at what we're taught in medical school with checking a thyroid stimulating hormone. We're looking at the whole panel of thyroid hormones and making sure that those are optimized. So people who have low thyroid function, or before they know it, they come in with fatigue and they've been with their conventional doc and everything is normal, we go a step further to look at how we can get things back on track. Gut health is
And
also
I've
a
heard
really
that a
big
few times, right? I've heard that a few times where people come in and they say, well, I went to the doctor and they told me everything was normal. Do you hear that?
Mhm. All the time, all the time.
All the
So I say,
time.
well, send me everything that you've already done. And that's our starting point. So we don't have to repeat any of that. But, you know, as a family medicine doctor, I'm going to look at the most obvious things first. You know, we're going to look at blood work and, you know, do the conventional things and make sure we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's.
Understandable. So if someone's trying to find you, how do they find you?
Sure. The best way to find us is visiting our website, kalemd.com. We also have a chat bot on our website. So if there are any questions, it's interactive. So you can get additional information. If there are still questions, giving us a call, 713-660-6620, is a great way to get more information. And then we also have social media pages. So Kale Functional Medicine on YouTube and Instagram, and on Facebook and Instagram, and on YouTube, it's Kale MD Functional Medicine.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
And so last question here. I want to ask you about technologies. Um, Technology is huge nowadays, and health technology is really big. Are there any health technologies you're really bullish on and that you're really excited about, or something that you use maybe? Could you touch on that a little bit?
yes, I'm a gadget girl. So that's the right person. First of all, I love an Oura ring. I have my Oura ring on now. The main purpose of the Oura ring is to track your sleep. So, you know, with sleep being very important to me, I do look at my sleep score every morning, and I look at how much of that was REM, how much was deep sleep. It gives you all of that. It also goes a step further and tells you what your oxygen saturation was. So, you know, anyone who's snoring, who has lower oxygen overnight can pick that up in their Oura ring. And once you know, you can fix these things. So I'm very bullish on the Oura ring, and I've had my Oura ring now for probably 3 or 4 years. So I was your doctors. A second one that I'm bullish on is a continuous glucose monitor. Now, of course, these were intended for people who have diabetes and are on insulin and glucose lowering medications. We can use those as people who don't have blood sugar issues to understand what foods are driving up our blood sugar, because that can be such a that can cause harm in our body. Sugar is pro-inflammatory and causes weight gain, and of course leads to diabetes and trickle down problems from that. So I love to prescribe a glucose monitor to my patients and then show them how to use that information to modify what they're doing so they can optimize their health and get ahead of insulin resistance years before it's an issue. A third one that I really love is an in-body scale. So this is a scale typically at a medical provider's office or at a gym, where you stand on it and you get the amount of body weight that is muscle, body fat, and water. And so this gives a much better determination of, or a much better predictor of what your risk is for heart disease and kind of the cardiac and metabolic dysfunctions that we're trying to avoid than a BMI would. Because if you have a lot of muscle, your BMI gets overstated. So something like an in-body really tells you the composition of your body and gives great insights on how you can balance things and stay healthy.
Yeah, those are three interesting technologies, especially the in-body scale. I really haven't talked to anybody that's actually mentioned that is something that they would look at. So that's very interesting. And then the second one too, the glucose monitor for people that don't necessarily have glucose problems, that takes me back to so I recently read and came across a study in 2014 that they took 100 married couples, and they basically gave them voodoo dolls, and they said, okay, you can stick pins in the voodoo dolls when your partner is irritating you, and they saw a direct correlation between low glucose levels and the pins that were being stuck in the voodoo dolls. So basically, these people were having glucose spikes, and then they would go low, and then they would get irritated with their partner. And so I think that definitely probably needs to be expanded, that research, because that glucose monitoring that you're talking about, I think that maybe we're at the beginning stages of really understanding how much of our life that it affects.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you'd want to tell us or leave with there?
I wanted to recommend that anyone who is interested in functional medicine look for a provider who is certified or has formal functional medicine training. And the premier institution that educates and certifies providers is the Institute for Functional Medicine, or IFM. And you can find a functional medicine provider by going to ifm.org. So that would be my closing recommendation.